Emotional intelligence has been around as long as mankind has, but it has become something that we've learned more about, spoken more about, especially in terms of business, in the last 20 or 30 years. Many books have been written about it, there are many podcasts, and so there's so much to learn about it. But it does remain one of the most critical factors in our business because it pertains to everything. It pertains to our own leadership, it pertains to the emotional intelligence of our team, and it pertains to how we deal with our customers. It is a human skill, but not something that we are necessarily taught in childhood. Definitely not something that we can find to learn at school or even at university. And so a lot of our education is based on enhancing our technical skills, but a lot of our success is based on our emotional intelligence, and sometimes these two are worlds apart. In very simplified terms, when we look at emotional intelligence as it pertains to our brains, we need to remember that our brains function in three areas. So we have the neocortex side of our brain, which is where we are clever. This is what we call the thinking part of our brain. This is where we learn. This is importantly where we communicate. And this is the part of our brain that unfortunately often gets completely shut down if we undergo a very strong emotion. Now, emotions are contained in the limbic or the midbrain. And so when this part of the brain is lit up, the neocortex, clever thinking side of the brain is often shut down. There's a relationship between our thinking brain, our feeling brain, and then the part that we call our primitive brain. In this part of the brain, our body releases adrenaline because this helps us with survival. Our survival is based on our ability to either fight or flight or freeze when we are faced with any danger. So, when we think about the dangers that we might face every day in our business lives, we might be on the way to a meeting and another car can sometimes push in front of us, which can cause us to react. Now, whether the car actually really causes an accident or not, our brains in that one moment cannot distinguish between the real danger or the imagined danger. And so we as human beings often think we overreact. Let me give you another example. You are busily working behind your computer and then suddenly gets told that the boss wants to see you. In that moment, you know how much adrenaline suddenly gets released into your body. So we can end up being a shaking mess. Because in that moment, the thought that the boss wants to see us is as equally dangerous to us as if somebody is literally holding a gun to our head. It's only when we can engage the thinking part of our brain that we can logically start saying to ourselves, I'm not in trouble. I've done my job. The boss just wants to talk to me. There's no real danger involved. And so in very simple terms, the magic of emotional intelligence says, by all means, feel the emotion, but just think before you act. The emotion itself is not where danger lies. The emotion itself is not wrong. We can be as angry, frustrated, or happy as we choose to be. The problems come in when we start behaving in a harmful way because of the emotion. In other words, those oops moments that happens, and when we say to ourselves, I should not have done that, I should not have said that. Or equally dangerous, that's what I should have said. You know how we can walk out of a meeting thinking to ourselves, that was the answer. But in that moment, we were too frustrated or irritated or angry or scared, and therefore did not allow our thinking brain, where we have the answers, where we are clever, to actually rule. So the essence of emotional intelligence says, feel the feeling, but just think before you do. Whilst EQ is an incredibly rich subject matter, and we can almost get lost in terms of all the ways that it can be applied, for the sake of this video, let's focus on two practical ways that we can use emotional intelligence in our business. The first one is to remember that we appoint people for their skills, technical skills, but that we want to get rid of them because of their attitude. And attitude has everything to do with emotional intelligence. So the lesson contained in this is that as much as possible, whilst technical skills are important, we should also, when we consider adding people to our team, understand their level of emotional intelligence. Because the higher their emotional intelligence, the better they will deal with all interpersonal relationships in the team, with you as a leader, and with your customers. They will also be able to better adapt to change. The second way in which we can use emotional intelligence in our business is to support people who we have earmarked for succession. Again, in terms of technical skills, these are the skills that help us and get promoted in a business. But the minute we get promoted into any kind of supervisory or managerial role, these technical skills are no longer as useful to us. And the skills that we now need, which is self-management and people management, are not skills that we are necessarily taught. This is where emotional intelligence becomes important, because it's only emotional intelligence that is going to help us bridge that gap between technical expert and organizational leader.